back for another update. Today is Saturday, January 25th, 2025. I'm out here on this Forest Service road on this beautiful sunny day. Numerous animal tracks through here in the snow. And temperature feels like it's probably about low 40s, near 40s, so it is cold is starting to relax its grip, but still plenty of snow to be had, as it is 19 straight days now of decent snow cover. Yeah, that's reflected by how many animal traps you can see. So what I'm going to talk about is where the weather is likely going to go from here. We're kind of in a neutral period of weather. It appears that for now the cold is going to relax its grip over much of the U.S. except for the New England states may get another shot or two. Meaning we're probably going to lose this snow cover here within a few days by the looks of it. As normally here it's mid-40s for highs even in January. It is pretty remarkable that we held on to the snow cover this long here. Nearly 3 straight weeks. And even more remarkable, the snowstorm across the Gulf Coast, which I said had a lot of potential a week before it even happened. And they were still saying an inch or two of snow. Even Ryan Maui even was in disbelief on 3 to 6 inches of snow for these areas, and even he admitted something has changed in our climate. Of course, it's almost slipped on a patch of ice here. Of course, they're blaming it on global warming. I saw an article this morning talking about the Arctic amplification and warmer. They blamed it on Arctic amplification, warmer than average temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico, supposedly, and the moisture holding, or atmosphere holding more moisture. Well, if the atmosphere really is holding so much moisture, then how come New York City this month has only gotten a ½ inch of precipitation so far, if there's so much moisture out there? How come much of the country has been dry as a bone in the last month, if there's so much moisture out there in the atmosphere, other than from the Tonga eruption, but that's diminishing? And they blamed it on warmer than average. If the Gulf was so warm, there's no way they would have gotten snow. They would have gotten rain instead. The only way they could have gotten snow out of this system is if the Gulf of Mexico is not as warm as they're saying it is. And I've been saying this for a long time. If the Gulf of Mexico is really that super warm, this would have been either a rain event or freezing rain, sleet. New Orleans would not have, there's no way New Orleans could have gotten nearly a foot of snow if the Gulf of Mexico was boiling hot right now. Only way they could get that much snow is the Gulf of Mexico cannot be that warm right now. Because they would have changed it all to rain. So there are arguments on global warming causing this storm in the Gulf Coast of snow, where a widespread area has got 10 inches plus. You got to go all the way back to 1895 to find a storm of that magnitude, and 1899 also. And that's why I say that we're in line to get more storms like this in the near future. There's a nice little spring, and I think I'm gonna get me some water because it flows out of the wilderness area. And here's what appears to be some bear tracks. Quite a few of them actually. But yeah, to blame this storm on global warming, man-made global warming, is ludicrous. I hate to say it, it's ludicrous. The climate has, but we are going into a colder period. That's what this is indicative of. A storm like this has not happened in 130 years in these regions of this magnitude. It just shows that the climatic patterns of 130 years ago to cause the previous storm in 1895 have returned. The Gulf of Mexico back then was cooler. It was, all the factors came into play that were present in 1895 to enhance this snowstorm. And in 1895, we know it was a cooler period, climatically speaking, than present, or at least cooler than it has been in recent decades. So, where's the weather going to go from here? There's a lot of talk of a warm-up. It is going to warm up, but it's not going to be like the last 3 winters. Reason being, the MJO is, they're trying to get it into phase 6. It's pretty obvious, but it's also in phase 3. And it's right now more of a phase 6/7. It seems like they're having problems getting the convection going in between those two areas, because it's been tapped out over the last 3 winters or years. Yeah, they're going to have a hard time getting the MJO into the warmer phases. I feel it's been manipulated. That's part of the reason for the last 3 winters being as mild as they were. I mean, I feel there's almost no way it could have happened naturally. So what I'm going to do here is, I think I'm going to fill up my water bottle with some spring water. Let's see if I can keep the camera going here. But yeah, I think I'm going to get some nice spring water that flows right out of the wilderness area. I know it's good water. So I'm going to try to see what I can do here. It's going to be a bit of a challenge. Once I go over here. back on. It's getting chillier. Okay, now I'm going to continue down this trail. Plan is to head back over to Paint Bank. There it is. What a nice little spring that is. Getting back to where's the weather going to go from here. Again, sunspot count has dropped back to the 150s or so, but there's a bunch of areas getting ready to disappear around the west limb. There's not much coming behind it, so there's a good possibility the sunspot count is going to start dropping off in the next few days when those areas rotate out of view. It doesn't appear that there's that many areas active over the limb at this point, so we may drop below 100 again for a time for sunspots. If the trend continues, then I gotta turn around, I forgot my walking stick. But yeah, if the trend continues, we may have some more interesting weather. Second half of February into March. Because right now we're still pretty much have a zonal jet stream pattern. In that case, yeah, there still can be storminess, but it's more spread out. It's not as widespread. But with solar activity on the decline, yeah, the flow might start becoming a bit more meridional. What's really saving the Northeast from bone chilling cold right now is the Great Lakes have still not all froze yet. They usually don't completely freeze every winter, but still, the only lake that has a significant amount of ice on it right now is Lake Erie. More than 3/4 frozen. The rest of the lakes have minimal ice, so that is modifying a lot of the cold air that's coming from the northwest. And in order for places like New York City to get really cold in a situation like this, you got to have the wind coming right straight out of the north and not coming across the lakes. And in a zonal pattern, that's hard to do. In a more meridional pattern, that can definitely happen a lot more frequently. But in a zonal type pattern, the flow will more often come out of the northwest or even west. And that would bring the cold air across the lakes being still water modify the Arctic air mass. So when it hits the East Coast, it's not as cold as it potentially could be. And here's a military aircraft. Flying right overhead. Look at that. It's like a C-130. Another one. Two of them I don't see anymore. But wow, that was quite a treat. 2 military C-130s, or appear to be C-130s, not sure. So also, of course, there are areas that are quite warm. I looked this morning, Anchorage, Alaska, 50 degrees or 10 Celsius. And the end of January is, yeah, that's pretty close to record territory for them. If it isn't record, it's close. So yeah, but it's very localized though. Northwestern Canada as well. I looked up in Inuvik, Northwest Territory. They were up in the 20s. That's due to a low pressure system over big cyclone over southwestern Alaska that's turning warm air up into these areas off the Pacific. And cold Siberian air is coming down the western flank over the Bering Sea and Gulf of Alaska. And that the reason why the warm air is not hitting the U.S. is, again, because the MJO has, it seems like, at least been tapped out of the warmer phases. Like, they may get convection going for a day or two, and then it dies, and these tracks here, a lot of mice. But yeah, so of course, Great Britain got that huge hurricane-like storm a few days ago. And again, that's pulling warm air up into Western Europe ahead of that system. And cold air around the backside over the Atlantic. So yeah, this is just an absolutely beautiful trail through here. Or it's a road. Forest Service road. And again, it is just overrun with animal tracks. But for now, it looks like we're going to have a break in the storminess, at least in this area, for a while. There is a storm that might head into the Midwest later on, a week from now maybe. But that's still in conjecture what's going to happen with that. Who's going to get snow and where, but we're probably going to get rain here out of it if it does affect us. So not much to talk about. As I've said, it's for the most part this winter going to be kind of a boring pattern, but again, unexpectedly snowstorm in the Gulf, like what we just had, is anything but boring. But from here on, for the next week, it's going to be kind of a, as they say, a boring pattern. Pretty much everybody's going to be near normal, temperature-wise. Here's another little spring that flows out of the wilderness area. And this one is pretty much frozen. And it's frozen, huge frozen puddle here. And all up in that direction is the Schroeber's Run Wilderness. Looks like an animal. Might have been a coyote. Yeah, all the puddles are nice and frozen solid. So that is going to be it for this video. The road continues, and my plan is again to make my way over to Paint Bank where I may get picked up. I would walk home from there, but down the road I was bit twice by dogs, that person that lives there. And I took the person to court after the second incident, but they only fined her $100 for it. And since then I avoid walking past there. It's just obvious the courts don't seem to care much. That I almost got my leg completely bit off me. I mean, by this dog. So I don't walk past there. So if I go to Paint Bank, either I detour home a different way through the woods, or I get picked up, even though I live less than a mile from it. I have to walk past that place where I got bit 2 times. So that's going to be it. I'll be back soon.